Welcome to another session of Around the County with Williamson County's Mayor, and that's me, Rogers Anderson. It's always glad to have everyone tuning in and watching, and today we have a special, I like to say, chat side across the table with Bo Butler, our new chairman of the Williamson Medical Center Board of Trustees.
I am.
We are so glad to have you here, but even more so your leadership. I'm looking forward to working with you on the board.
Well, thank you.
But before we get into actually some of the conversations of Williamson Medical Center and our community, our healthcare, did you notice the big orange teddy bear there, Bo? I know you're such a diehard. In fact, before we went on, I think he had it hid, but the
I was caught.
Apparently Tennessee orange is not in your network of...
Well, all my friends, a lot of my friends went to Tennessee, but I went to Vanderbilt, as did my parents, and so I grew up bleeding a lot black and gold. Yeah.
Well, you know, I can't brag a lot about the University of Tennessee's football program right now. I believe we've lost the last 3 or 4. But
you're in a slump. You'll come back.
I hope so, but I tell you, there's no question, if you love baseball and you love college baseball, one of the finest teams is just up the road a little bit.
Yeah, they did very well this year and have done for a number of years. So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Bo Butler. I know you live in town and you've been on the board of the hospital board for several years now, but kind of take us back. Where'd you get started? Where'd you go to school?
Well, I'm a Franklin native. I'm 8th generation in Williamson County. My family's homestead was Pleasant Hill, where the Governor's Club is now. And so I grew up here, went through the Franklin Special School District for school, went to BGA after that for high school. My mother taught in the Franklin Special School District for 35 or 40 years, so very much rooted in Franklin. Went to Southwestern at Memphis for college, which is now Rhodes College in Memphis, for my business degree, an undergraduate degree. And then I went into the shoe repair business.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
Shoe repair business?
For about 10 years, I learned to do while you wait shoe repair from a Belgian company and opened 5 shoe repair shops in Memphis and Nashville and ran those for 10 years. And I was a young man back then, so 70-hour weeks really didn't faze me much. But so I did that, learned a lot about business as a young man, about how to attract and keep employees, what was important in those relationships. And then one day, my wife Caroline, whom I met at Rhodes, we were about to have our first child, and I came home and said, Caroline, I'm going to sell the shoe repair shops and I'm going back to school. And so she said, fine. And so, you know, when you're young and you're stupid, you really don't know any better. And so we did that. And I went to MTSU and took as many courses as I could. Then I went to Vanderbilt to get my engineering degree. And that's where my second career started in engineering. I worked for a consultant in Nashville, Smith Seckman Reed. Been there for 26 years now. And so my education was sort of long. When I speak to high school students on a regular basis, and I tell them, you know, to take your time, make sure of what you really are passionate about before you go to school and start a career, but don't do it like I did it. It took many years for me to get to the point where I love going to work every day. I love what I do, and was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do it the way I do it. Not everybody has that opportunity. So,
you know, I was sitting here thinking, my path to mayor is not unlike yours. You go through many things, and like you, I do talk to groups. But there's one thing that's common denominator and all that, and that is, if you have a love for what you think you want to do, and that love may change a little later in life, but the one element that stays with you is your education.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, the Franklin Special School District's been around 100+ years, does a wonderful job in our county. The county school, Williams County Public Schools, is the monster of all, some 42,000 students. And you've seen the community from ground level change. You've seen lots of new iterations of our community, going from agriculture. We just taped a show recently with Jay Sheraton and about the fair, and you know, the fair was gone for 55 years and came back, and now it's very strong. 2,200 volunteers, but still based around agriculture and education, but it's a different form through technology.
Yeah.
Several years ago, you were asked to serve on the board, approved, confirmed by the county commission, board of trustees, and then the county commission. Williamson Medical Center is a different hospital. It's part of the fabric of our community.
It is, very much.
Except for one period of time in our history, county taxpayer money has never been used to support the operations of that institution. There was a period of time in the late 1990s where a sum of $20 million was given to the hospital so that they could expand. That first expansion, that's 20 years ago now.
It's hard to believe.
But at that time, the leadership of the county commission and Clint Callicott, the late Clint Callicott, felt it was important that we invest some in our community hospital. Other than that, it has been a flow of, okay, hospital, you got to stand on your own 2 feet. You got to carry the note. You got to pay your bills. You got to pay the people. And what an institution over the years. As I was having a cup of coffee this morning at the kitchen table, I was thinking of the interviews that I were going to be doing today. And it dawned on me that Russell Little, who is rolling off, has done a wonderful job, ex-county commissioner, lived in our community. Little's name's been around synonymous. Prior to him was a gentleman out of the Grassland area between Ike and Brown. And prior to him was, in modern times, was a guy named David Buchanan who lived on Hillsborough Road, almost beside Franklin High School.
Right.
So in the last 30 to 40 years, there's been other men that have served in that leadership role of how the hospital is going to perform and do. But in the last 30 to 40 years, you're one of a few that has taken the helm and decided, I'm going to lead this hospital. And from the perspective of over here, thank you. The hospital is very important. Your views on Williamson Medical Center and your involvement over the years.
Thank you. I'm honored to take this seat, and it's a very important role. It's a volunteer role. I don't know if most people know that, but the Board of Trustees is a volunteer position, and I've been on it. Ike and Jim Cross came and asked if I would serve on the board in about 2005. And I asked them for some time to think about it because I had served on some nonprofit boards before and knew the time commitment. And so I talked it over with Caroline, my wife, and decided that it was the thing to do. And so I have never looked back and have felt a great sense of satisfaction being on the Board of Trustees at Williamson Medical. Both my children were born at Williamson Medical. I have watched the town grow from, whatever it was back in the 60s to what it is today. And it's amazing that Williamson Medical has kept up with the growth and kept up with the demands of supplying healthcare needs to the citizens of the county. It's a nonprofit organization which operates very differently from for-profit hospitals. And I'm very proud of that. I think we have a great board. I think we have a good, strong board made up of community leaders and business people and healthcare professionals. And I feel very good leading the board at this time. We've made a lot of strides even since I've been on the board. The office tower had just been completed a couple of years before I got on the board. And at that time, the problem was there was no place to park. So our next project was quickly to get designed and build a parking garage on that side of the hospital, and that served the hospital very well. And then through our strategic planning process that we do every 5 years or so, we began to see some trends in the healthcare needs of the county. And so in a few years, of course, the next large project that we did was the Children's Hospital and the Children's ER, which has been a huge success. And to have a dedicated space for parents to bring their children when there's an emergency is just a huge thing for the county. They don't have to drive to Nashville or some other facility. They can have their healthcare needs met right here in Franklin. And then, of course, the most recent project that we've done, that we're very proud of, is the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, which has just opened in the last couple of months. So we are currently in the throes of startup there, and things are running very smoothly. We continue to add services. We will have a surgery center that's opening sometime within the next year to augment the existing services. Physical therapy is growing there as well. So a lot of things to be excited about at Williamson Medical Center right now.
Mo, you've seen the hospital where we're actually taping this show. It's called the Williamson County Administrative Complex. I had one child that was born here. The other two, one was in Blount County in the Knoxville area. I have had the opportunity to serve in two different ways on the Board of Trustees, one as county commissioner, and then now my role as the mayor. I can confirm what you said. There's a lot of good wisdom sitting in that boardroom. But it is a challenge to our CEO. The only person that the board employs is the CEO, which is Don Webb.
Right.
And it's a huge employer in our county, some 1,500, give or take, counting part-time, full-time equivalents, rather. And as you look out over the scope across the nation, there's hardly a day goes by that healthcare is not on the front page, TV, or in the social world.
Right.
Oftentimes, we're reminded from the negative side. But behind the scenes, hospitals are four walls, and what goes on in there is like any other business in America. It is conducted professionally out here. Doctors refer you to a hospital. You and I have a choice to the ER.
Sure.
But our primary care or whatever specialist area we're in, if there's surgery to be needed, it's going to be referred to the hospital. But in the last 10 to 15 years, we've got outpatient surgery centers, which are more costly, which are less costly than what 24-hour staffing of a hospital has to be. So in my early days, I remember us trying to get into the primary care physician base, and we didn't do a very good job of that. We partnered with a hospital out of Nashville called Baptist Hospital. It limped along. It served a point, but now that's reinvented itself in a different format, and primary care is the way that we do things now for healthcare, having your own doctor. We have, I'm not real sure, I was trying to remember, 250 to 300 board certified physicians. Does that sound about right?
I think I read about 700.
Okay.
Yeah.
700 total. It's a huge employer.
It is.
And those men and women that do that, they're not hospital employees.
Right.
We do have some doctors that are physician paid by the hospital, but the bulk of the physician base are independent businessmen or firms.
They are, or they work for other entities, and we provide the arena for them to practice their medicine.
So how do you get your hand as a board chair? And I mean, you're almost, are you 60 days deep into this job as
Not
the chair?
yet. I'm about 14 days deep. Yeah.
But how do you get your arms around that?
It's something that has taken me since 2005 to really, of course, I'm not in the healthcare business. I'm a layman, and so the learning curve is pretty steep and pretty long for a board seat at a facility like Williamson. And you begin to see very quickly that you're not just running a business. It's much more than that. You're trying to facilitate and meet the needs of the citizens of the county who need the healthcare services. You're trying to meet the needs of the physicians that are practicing at your facility. They want to practice in an area that is progressive and where they can spread their wings and stretch a bit to grow in their professions. And so we try to do that and provide not only a good arena for healthcare services, but also a good place for the physicians to practice, and also for our 16 to 1,800 employees to a good place to work and grow and do the things that they love to do, because it's very evident that our employees love what they do. We provide a good caring atmosphere for the patients. We hear that time and time again.
Sure.
And so all that together it's a complicated soup to cook and make sure that it comes out well every month, every year for every patient.
Competition. Almost at every level that you can think of, from other institutions. They're all good institutions. The Vanderbilt, St. Thomas.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they're all institutions that certainly have been around a long period of time and have proven themselves are on some of the best scorecards that you could possibly on. Then you've got the for-profits, those two that I mentioned are the not-for-profits. Then you've got the for-profits, the HCAs, and there are so many. This is the healthcare capital of the world. And all the startup, entrepreneur people.
A lot of healthcare businesses.
A lot of healthcare.
Ancillary services.
It's just incredible. How do you find a place in Williamson County for Williamson Medical Center to continue being that model hospital for doctors that you talked about, to continue on as we go down the road?
Well, as you said, Williamson County is a very desirable place for healthcare providers. The payer mix is really at the root of much of it, is that the average salary in Williamson County is very high. We're a very wealthy county statistically. And so when healthcare providers provide their services, there's a good chance they're going to get paid, and they're going to get paid what the going rate is. Hospitals would love to have a facility here. All of those that you mentioned really would, probably at the drop of a hat, love to be in Williamson County. And so with our current regulations and the way healthcare is regulated in the state right now is based on need. So we have, I think the county, Williamson Medical Center over the years has certainly realized a need to grow and keep up with not only our population growth, but also the needs, the more modern needs of the patients in Williamson County, and being on the cutting edge of medicine in general. By doing that, in today's climate, I think is the way we have been able to maintain our position in the county. We are not for profit. We exist to serve the healthcare needs of the people of Williamson County. That's why we exist. For-profit hospitals are our business, and they're profit-driven. And you'll hear many stories from many people that will debunk that theory and that statement, but that's why they're in business. We're in business to serve the healthcare needs of the citizens. So as long as the current regulations of healthcare in Tennessee remain the same, I think we are in a position to continue to improve and grow with the community to provide the needed services. Now, in some states where need is not really looked at as a criteria for hospital growth, different strategies are used. And at some point in Tennessee, that could happen, and we'll have to stay on our toes. And if that point comes in Tennessee, we will rise to that occasion and continue to provide services the best way we know how for Williamson County.
When I look, and most people do look for leadership, you look for an individual that can weigh all of the pros and the cons. At the board of the Williamson Medical Center board and many other boards, whether it's church board or any pay board, leadership is often the determinant of where an institution survives. There have been many attempts over the last 25 or 30 years that I've been involved with the hospital to either sell it or to offer to sell it or change the format of it is. And all of that conversation, it just falls on deaf ears because the track record of Williamson Medical Center has been very stellar. It's a difficult job to do what you're doing, and all board members, but you in that leadership role, is to be able to balance it between partnerships and going along, and how do you set your sights on the community's health care, more so on the bottom line. There have been trying times from a financial standpoint where the bottom line is not in the red, but it's not always been as strong because it costs a lot of money to build buildings. It costs a lot of money to keep the modern, up-to-date equipment. But you're well suited to be the chairman, maybe not of your shoe business, but I'm sitting here thinking managing people in 2 and 3 different operations. We do have multiple operations, but we have multiple operations within our hospital that all have to perform in a way that we can continue to offer those kind of services. I am ready and able to serve under your leadership over there, and I think the other members are, because the vote was unanimous. It was that we trust in Butler. He will lead us in that way, and the doctors and the staff will soon find that leadership is solid and stellar. The community, though, changes, grows. We're expected to double in population over the next 20, 25 years. That's hard for me to imagine. And more people and more services. And, oh, by the way, the costs are going to be cut.
Right.
It's
hit you from all sides.
I don't know that I thought of it in any different way than you described it. That's a soup that's hard to cook. But we have to figure out how to do it as we go down the road.
Well, I think our charge for the future is to continue to reinvest into the medical center for the growing healthcare needs of the county. And as the county grows, I think what we all have seen is that there's a need to take the healthcare providers and services out into the county to be closer to people. As our rural areas grow and are populated, traffic, as we all know, gets tough, and we want to make sure that we are close by to everyone. And so we'll continue to open satellite offices, ancillary service offices around the county where needed to make sure we bring those services to the people who need it.
We've got a couple of minutes left. I found over the years in doing this, I have left out something that maybe was on your mind that you wanted to get that message out.
Yeah, thank you. I think one thing is that I did mention that all the hospitals in the region would love to be in Williamson County. And you mentioned that our main goal is to bring the best healthcare services to our patients in the county. And we will continue to partner with Vanderbilt and HCA and Baptist and all those providers that bring the best of the best in that particular service line. And we'll continue to do that in the future. But we still want to remain in the driver's seat in Williamson County. We are the hospital in the county. And it's easy to get to feel like you're being pushed around a little bit, but I don't feel like we are here in Williamson County. I feel like we're solid. As you said, our record of service to the county has been very good over 50, 60 years. But we are open and need to make sure that we bring the best of the best services to the citizens of the county. We'll continue to do that.
You know, when you said that, triggered my thinking. There are services that, as our community continues to age, and particularly me, that you want for your seniors that you may not necessarily provide for those 20 years old. And so I know we're in the process of walking down the street, doing another strategic planning session and trying to see where we are and where do we need to be, and that's a challenge. But as our community changes, our hospital has to change and keep up with the times. And I'm thankful that you're leading us down that path.
Thank you.
We've run out of time. We could talk a lot longer.
Sure could have.
Thank you for your service to our community.
Yes, sir.
I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and as we travel around the county, we try to look at other operations that are so important to you as a citizen and you as a person. Have a good day.